Oh my gosh, my hair is like, oh, I wonder if this camera's like lopsided or something like that. I don't know. Hey guys, it's me, Butterfly Spirit. Let me adjust this camera because it's like low or something. I don't know. Anyway, I want to talk to you guys about how I handle problems now in my life in particular, because I feel like how I handle like situations now versus like how I used to handle situations is like really different. Okay, look like it's just the light just started. Okay, hopefully. Okay, I'm gonna start over. All right, so guys, in this video, I'm gonna talk about how I handle problems that come up now in my life versus how I used to. So now how I handle problems is I don't immediately like go into panic mode as much as I used to. So like now when it comes to a problem, what I do now is I identify that a situation is a problem. And then what I do is I say, okay, well, what's my goal? What do I want to achieve? Okay. Do I want to worry about the situation continuing, or do I want to do something about it? I also like try to think about like who's involved in the situation and like how can I like work together with people to try to get things accomplished. Okay. In the past, what I would do when it came to a problem would be, I would pretty much ignore problems. I would just like panic about it, get frustrated about it, do nothing about it. And eventually I would just kind of like, because of the frustration, I would just like literally like explode in anger because nothing was done about a situation. At this point in my life, what I do now, and I'll give you an example. Okay. So, um, recently, I had a situation with, I'm trying to um, think, okay. So one problem that came up, okay. So there's a situation where, at home, I had a situation where, um, one day I went to try to make some cookies. And what happened is that when I preheated the oven, thought it was good and everything, and all of a sudden I started smelling gas that was coming from the oven, and I was like, "What the heck? What's going on with this?" Because I never smelled gas coming from the oven before. And I noticed when I opened the oven, I noticed that like um, literally there was like no heat coming from the oven, but I smelled gas. And so when I smelled the gas, I was like, uh oh, something's wrong with this oven. This is not doing what it needs to. So uh, I looked under the bottom of the oven, and this is where like some people will broil stuff under the oven. Okay. And what I did is that I noticed that there was no fire down there. Okay. And I could smell gas. So I went ahead and turned off the oven. Okay. Now, in that situation, I was very panicked. Okay. And I was like, oh, shoot, I'm smelling gas. Oh my gosh, the house could blow up or whatever. Like I'm thinking through these situations like that this isn't good for me to be smelling like gas. This isn't like gas coming from a stove. Okay. That's not good. So, what I decided to do is I told myself, I said, okay, butterfly spirit, we've got to figure out what we're going to do about this. Got to figure this out. So rather than letting myself get carried away with my emotions like what I used to do, what I did was caught myself because I was mindful of what the situation was, and I said, okay, all right, something's got to be done about this. So what I went ahead and did is I knew that my goal was is that I wanted the stove to be fixed. I knew the cookies that I wanted to make, I wasn't going to be able to make them because if the oven wasn't heating up, I wasn't going to be able to make cookies, which yes, I was not happy about, but I was like, this oven has to be fixed. So what I ended up doing was I ended up reaching out to I ended up reaching out to my landlord and letting my landlord know and be like, hey, something's going on with the stove. And I told him the situation. I'm like, hey, The stove is not heating up. I'm smelling gas coming from this. It's, it's not coming to temperature. Okay. And, I let him know what's going on and stuff. And I told him, I was like, well, a couple of years ago, the stove was fixed. Maybe the part that was put into the oven a couple of years ago, maybe that part went out. Okay. And so I was thinking in my head about the company that fixed the oven a couple years ago. I remember the name of the company, but I didn't have any kind of warranty information. I searched like my email, searched on the house, couldn't find any information on the repair that was done. Okay. So I ended up calling that company, and then I called them, and then it was a Sunday actually. So I knew, like, from calling the customer service, they wasn't going to be able to come out or whatever. Because the lady I talked to, she's like, oh, well, you have to talk to the US team. We're the 24 hours team, but we don't have access to set up an appointment for you. So you had to call back during the week. She's like, but what I'll do is send a message to the team to call you. So next day when I was at work in the morning, I was like, well, I didn't get a phone call. And I was like, I got to work on getting this oven back in working order. Okay. So I called that company that fixed the stove before. Again, they told me, the US team told me, they're like, well, we didn't get any notices about setting up an appointment for you or anything like that. And so I was like, okay. I was like, can you guys set up an appointment or whatever, And I told them about the stove had been fixed either a couple years ago or 1 year ago or whatever. And they was like, okay, well, what we can do is, they said, well, that part that was warranted, it only had like a 30-day or so warranty or whatever. So that warranty's out. So you would have to have somebody come out and reassess the stove. Okay. And so what I ended up doing is I got an appointment set up. I let my landlord know, hey, they can come out and look at it, but they're going to charge a fee. He was like, all right, I'll cover it for them to come out and look at the stove or whatever. Okay. So I had to, the day of the appointment, I had to take off. And this was during the week, because I guess they didn't do weekend appointments or whatever. But anyway, they sent the guy out to take a look at the stove, and he told me, he was like, oh, he's like, well, the thing under the stove where it will be lit in there, he's like, well, that had went out. He's like, so that's why you're smelling gas, because the oven is supplying the gas that it needs to, but there is no fire. And so the part that will be housing the fire or whatever, to give that spark and a light or whatever in the oven, can't think of the name right now, but he said it looks like that's out. He said that is a cheap fix. It's like, so we can go ahead and get it taken care of. And so he went outside in his truck, called my landlord, let him know how much it'll be. My landlord was like, cool, go ahead and fix it, go to replace the part. The guy actually ended up, talking to me about how ovens work and everything like that and stuff. And he said, this is a repair that somebody shouldn't do by following a YouTube video or anything like that. This is something that people should leave for the professionals to do. Now, if you're trying to replace, like, a light over your stove or something like that, or a light in your oven, you could do that. But anything like this, you'd want a professional to do. And I told him, I was like, I don't want to do anything like this. So basically, he repaired the oven, and he's like, hey, you want to see how the oven lights or whatever before he put everything back together? And I was like, yeah. And so the oven was preheated, right? So I preheated the oven like normal. And then he let me see how the oven lights and stuff. And it's like the flame goes across, lights up all the way across like this. Like it has like multiple like eyes under, like inside the stove or whatever. And it lights up. It looks really cool. So he showed me that, and I was like, wow, so this is how the oven lights up. I'm like, that's awesome. He's like, yeah, he's like, I just wanted you to see it. I was like, oh, thanks. And so, I appreciated that the guy had showed me that with the oven. Right. And so The guy was like, well, you're all set. The oven should be working or whatever. I was like, all right, cool. And the guy left. Okay. So oven got fixed. I let my landlord know, hey, the oven seems like it's fixed. The guy got it taken care of. Awesome. Okay. So in the past, if I was confronted with something like the oven not working, what I would do is I would be panicking, I would be fussing and cussing and everything. And it would take me a long time to really get to the root of the issue or problem in the past. Now, what I do is since I've been working a lot on myself, like I've learned that when it comes to problems or issues or whatever, it's important to get to the root of the problem. Okay. And a lot of times, many of us, we have emotions. We feel certain things when it comes to certain situations, and we do, right? But the thing is to think about what is your goal, okay? Now, in the situation with the stove, all right, my landlord did offer to have a maintenance guy to come and look at the stove. I knew from what was going on that the maintenance guy wasn't going to be able to take care of that because it was dealing with gas, a utility. All right. And I'm like, I feel more comfortable with an expert doing it, not with a handyman doing that. And so the landlord agreed and we went, the route of the professional person doing it. Okay. So, I've learned that, through working on myself through like a lot of shadow work, a lot of reading, a lot of research, a lot of like looking back of like how I've handled situations in the past with people. I've come away with more of an understanding, even like a gut feeling of when it comes to problems, the important thing for me to do is not to freak out, not to go crazy. Immediately, like anybody, I want to just like be like, oh my gosh, what do I do? But the thing is that I now catch myself and say, okay, this is the problem. Okay, who do I have to work with on this problem? Okay. In the case with the stove, I had to work with my landlord and I also had to work with the company who was going to be fixing the stove. Right. Now I was proactive to call the professional company or whatever and things because I wanted to get my stove back. I didn't want to wait weeks and stuff like that or whatever. Right. Now I was frustrated about the fact that, I had food in the fridge that I wanted to bake and stuff. And I did want to do that. And yes, it did take time before the other guy was able to come out, right? And it cost me some money, so I had to go out and buy stuff to eat for dinner while I was waiting on the guy to come out. However, I was thinking more about, okay, how can I, get this situation resolved? What is my goal? And I got here through like a lot of reading, okay? A lot of shadow work, okay? A lot of gut feelings and stuff like that. And now I'm kind of at the point where I kind of work on stuff. Recently, actually, there's a situation that happened. There are times where I will slip up and I will like hope a problem resolves itself. Okay, so that was a situation with a water leak I experienced at home and I was hoping it was going to resolve itself, and it didn't. So eventually, I had to step up and deal with that problem. Okay. Luckily, that was something that the maintenance man was able to fix. And in that situation, I had to work with my landlord and the maintenance guy on getting that situation resolved. Plus, I had to work with the water company as well on the stuff. It's still kind of ongoing with them because when you have a water leak, that causes your bill to go up like way high, hundreds of dollars. So I'm working on getting to get a credit for my water bill so that like it'll bring down the price and stuff like that. Because I was responsible because I did know the toilet was running. And I did like kind of let it go on for a couple of months when I shouldn't have. And I should have been more proactive, right? I really should have been. However, eventually I worked with my landlord and the maintenance man and the water company, you know what I'm saying? And I had to talk to several people at the water company or whatever. But I was able to work through that situation by thinking about, okay, I could get mad and get frustrated about this. Or what I could do is I can work towards um I could work towards, you know, I could work towards a solution, or I could be frustrated about nothing getting taken care of. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, what I do now is I work towards things to try to resolve situations rather than like, you know, getting mad or getting angry. I mean, yeah, I still feel the emotions, but I'm mindful, and I'm thinking about, okay, I got to work with this person, this person to try to bring some kind of conclusion to what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And, some things are more challenging than others. There are some times where, like, there could be intensity in a situation, you know, and stuff that happens. And I may come away from a situation saying, okay, well, how could I have handled that differently? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I've grown really, versus how I used to do stuff. And I'm very proud of myself too. Like I really had to like seriously like pat myself on the back because like I literally am every day I'm growing and learning and becoming a more mindful and more understanding person. And I still have emotions. I still feel ways about different things. But the thing of it is that it's about achieving a goal, you know what I'm saying? And not just going like, oh my God, what do I do? It's important in my mind to try to resolve situations. And in some situations, I have to remain calm. Even if I'm frustrated, I still try to talk about my feelings, about how I feel about a situation, whether I'm happy or sad or mad or whatever about a situation. I still try to speak in feelings and stuff to try to get things across. And also understand that I am worthy of, having certain things. I'm worthy of having a working oven. All right. I'm worthy of having, of not having a leak in my house. I'm worthy of having things and stuff. And I'm thinking more about my needs and stuff like that, which helps. When you don't listen to your own individual needs and stuff, and you get so caught up in other things, then it makes sense that you'll be frustrated because you may not know that there is something that's not being taken care of with you that is needed, And I learn about this more and more every day in my everyday life. So this is just like how I handle situations now versus how I used to handle situations. In the past, I used to, uh, be about, blaming other people and stuff like that. But now I catch myself and say, hey, wait a minute. You know, do I want this situation to continue or do I want to do something about it? And if I got to work with somebody, you know, how can I get somebody to do something? Because if I just go off on somebody, that's not going to convince them to help me. You know what I'm saying? If I stay calm about a situation and think about things from their side, then I can convince them to do something for me, like the landlord and the maintenance guy. You know what I'm saying? When it came to situations and stuff like that. If I'm working with them and letting them know what's going on, what's happening, why I need their help, and then I'm being calm about it and stuff like that and stuff, they're more likely to help and come and deal with something, you know? And I realized like that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't think about is like people don't have to do things for you, but they will do stuff for you if you let them know when important things happen and you stay calm and you try to think about things kind of from their perspective, and like anything, like anybody, I'm learning, you guys can learn too, but for me, it's taken me time to really get here and really get to this point in my life, and I'm only going to continue to learn and grow more. And I'm just so proud of myself. I just like have to like pat myself on the back because it took me a while to get here. And I gotta say, I'm very proud of myself. And I think I'm moving in the right direction. So if you guys do make it through this video or whatnot, let me know your experience about like how you handle problems, and because I'd like to know your experience too, not just like my own. I know my experience, but I'm willing to listen to you guys' experiences too. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.